Welcome to the Multifamily Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multifamily Zone podcast. I am here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro.
Hey, Joel.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to have a podcast with you today.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Let me introduce our guests today. And we're going to be talking about ROI, and it's not return on investment. We're going to learn what the ROI is in their lives. Mm-hmm. Our guests today are the founders of Adventurous Real Estate Investors. Through real estate investing, they are creating immeasurable impacts in their family, with their friends, and in their community. Michael and Suzy set out to regain control of their lives, secure financial freedom, create a long-lasting impact, and discover their why. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Michael and Suzy.
Thanks. We're really excited to be here.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So we're so glad to share this space with you.
Yes. Well, take us from the beginning. Give us your story, your background.
Yeah, absolutely. I can start us off. So Michael and I live in Cambridge, England. So we are all the way across the pond. And currently over here, I am a program manager for a biotech company, soon to be real estate full-time. So I'm super excited. And Michael is getting his PhD over here at the University of Cambridge because he is active duty and he was teaching at the Air Force Academy. They wanted to promote him. In order to do that, he needed a PhD. He essentially just said, like, can I get it anywhere? And they're like, yes. He's like, ding, 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 we're going across the pond. And so like when we are done here, we will return back to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. And that's where Michael will finish out his career.
Why real estate?
Amazing.
So that's a great question. So real estate happened because of COVID-19 in the first lockdown. So Michael and I choose not to have a television. And because of that, we were going to have a lot of time on our hands because over here, the first lockdown was a little over 100 days and we could only leave to work out or go to the grocery store or go to the pharmacy once a day. And so we started a mini book club with each other. And one of those books was Multiple Streams of Income. And Michael got to the chapter that talks about real estate. He looked at me, he said, skip all the chapters, just read real estate. We got to do this. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, that's like where it was born. Like from there, we dove in right to the podcasts and the books and the blogs and the forums. We like consumed as much information as we could. And once we realized that the world of real estate had gone virtual, we knew it was like the perfect opportunity for us to take part in this journey.
Yeah. And fast forward, now we own 188 units. Yeah.
So. And how did you start, Michael? How was that feeling? I mean, especially being you started investing from overseas, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
So how did that look like? Because I have a lot of students in the Jake and Gino community that say you need to touch it. You need to be there. You need to actively be doing it. There's so many different ways to get into real estate, and just describe to the listeners the path that you chose.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing is just aligning ourselves with the correct partners on the ground. So we started putting, after we started educating ourselves, we started putting it out there on social media that we were in real estate or getting into real estate. And then, so I had started having friends reach out. And one of those friends that reached out was a academy classmate of mine from the Air Force Academy. He just transitioned into real estate full time. He already had experience in real estate and was like, hey, I'm in Oklahoma City. And Oklahoma City and Tulsa was actually two markets that we evaluated. And we're like, these are really good cash flow markets for multifamily. And so he's like, I'm interested in moving into multifamily as well. I could be your boots on the ground. And so having that key relationship on the ground is somebody, like you said, Gino, is like somebody that can touch the asset, walk the asset, smell the asset if necessary, right? Whatever they need to do before we submit an LOI, especially somebody there, if we have any emergencies or anything like that.
So Michael and Suzy, I usually promise my wife that I don't speak too much about business on this podcast because it's supposed to be a relationship, but it's really funny because family and business just intertwine, and my natural tendency just tends to gravitate towards real estate and refi and roll and syndication. But I'm going to pull it back and I'll let my wife ask a couple of questions on family.
It is funny though that they are so connected, and I want to know how the two of you, so you're in lockdown now, you decided to take another career path together. So what did that look like? Was it, because the two of you are just super happy right now, smiling, and I want to know if it was like that when Michael said, all right, we're just going to go real estate. Was there any kind of resistance or any kind of questioning? I want to know, take us back to that moment.
No, absolutely. So like by that time, we were probably already in lockdown about a month or so. And like during that month of like actually being with each other 24/7, it was actually like one of the most phenomenal things that it could have ever happened to us, right? Like you learn so much about each other. For some, I mean, fortunately for us, like we got so much closer. And so like once we realized that real estate investing was our vehicle to get that life back, like it was a no-brainer, you know, like we want to create a life where we are again, like working together, you know, 24/7. I mean, not all the time, but when it's traditionally whenever very necessary. And that was just the biggest thing. So there was no hesitation. I mean, like we like from day one have been best friends. And so it just seems so natural to like want to do this with your best friend.
Yeah, we do want to kill our best friends sometimes, don't we? I mean, like every day, but then we pull it back and go, it wasn't that bad. So give us a time, like, because when you're living, breathing, and even me and my wife, we don't work every day all the time, but it seems like as our responsibilities grow, we're doing podcasts together. We're actually writing a children's book together now.
Awesome.
We're doing so many different ventures, and it does intertwine. And is there balance? Our family life and our business life are intertwined, and our kids are part of it, which to me is empowering. And some people may be like, I need the separation. But if you love your life, you don't need the separation because it's part of it. And I want people to understand that when you're doing your sole purpose, and it seems like you two are going towards your sole purpose, and people can use the pandemic as an excuse. A lot of us have done that, and a lot of us are doing what you're doing. How did you get the clarity or the focus to do it during the downtime? Because everyone's always like, it's not the right time. It's never the right time. Well, we're starting a pandemic, but that didn't hold you back. Why didn't that hold you back?
I think once you start getting in the real estate investing community, you see hear a lot of people say, hey, the best time to invest in real estate was 20 years ago. Next best time is today. Right. So like, and everybody was saying, okay, yeah, COVID is something that's, you know, thrown a wrench into things, but hey, if you still invest smartly, it's fine. You can still work, you can still invest in the right assets and things like that. And so,
and like we have an exit plan, right? So like when Michael can retire in 7 years, that's it. So like for me, knowing that if he even had to go like past that 7 years by one day, it was going to be because of us, right? Like 7 years is enough time to get us to where we need to be so that he does not have to go into like another 9 to 5. And so that's really what was a huge driver as well, because then at that point we knew that it would be our fault. It wouldn't be anyone else's. It would just solely be on us.
You know, in the Jake and Gino community, especially in the last year or so, there has been an unbelievable amount of couples joining and learning real estate together, just like the two of you. And it's really incredible. And we actually host a couples coaching monthly with them, and it's super fun. But one of the things that I notice, and they all could tell you the same thing, is that sometimes you are just overwhelmed with real estate, and you go on a date and it's real estate and it's pretty much
nothing wrong with that on my side. No complaints from me.
It's all real estate. You know, it's almost like a business meeting every moment of the day with your spouse. And it can get, you know, sometimes it's exciting. And we talk about that Gino and I will go on, you know, little dates here and there. And we do talk about what our goals are as far as the business goes. But it's so important that we separate it just for a little while and actually focus on each other. So
I'm waiting for a question.
How do the two of you do that?
Good.
Hey, your question. I just want to say something. Your question before this was longer. It was longer. The statement was longer, and then the question was.
I thought you were going to ask the question. So, I thought you were just okay.
That was my question.
Yes, good question.
I mean, so like I just go into it saying like I don't want to talk about it. Like, can we talk about something else? You know, it's really that simple, right? Because if I don't say something like that and that's all we talk about, then I'm creating my own like resistance and like there's no point in that. So it's like going into it saying, I would like to be done with real estate right now. And, you know, like a lot of our wins like within real estate are celebrated by like going camping or going traveling or going on an adventure, right? That's how the Adventurous Real Estate Investors were born. So like we'll talk about an adventure and that makes it like much more exciting, right? Because it's almost like real estate is still being talked about because that's the win, but like it's fueled differently, but it's literally just saying, I'd like to talk about something else. And if Yeah, I mean, it seems, I guess, hard for some people, but for me, it's just like, and we're here.
Yes. Yes. Michael, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know when I get really excited, because I just like talking about real estate all the time, but like I can tell, right? Like, hey, now is not the time, So I jot it down, and then I'll tell her in the morning.
You're a super smart man. I just want to give you that.
Let me ask you, Michael, you said your goal was 7 years from now, you want to retire and get out of the military within 7 years, correct?
Correct.
So I have a little secret for you. I know a lot of people in the military who say that, and 2 years from now, they're out of the military. So it's funny how that works, because you don't know what you don't know right now. And you'll see, even though it's your passion, you may pivot. Are you flexible? Are you willing to say, hey, you know what? I may take the dive. How is that as far as your goals go?
Yes, that's a great question. And I've thought about that. And because I know some of my friends who have switched to multifamily, and they're like, wow, this is really powerful, and I'm no longer interested in the military. I'm going to pivot out. And way more, way before they actually planned. So unfortunately for me, well, not unfortunately, but fortunately for me, like me being here, getting a PhD, I actually owe the Air Force time back. So once I leave here, I owe them 6 years or 5 years. 4 of those years have to be back teaching at the Air Force Academy, which I love teaching. So, and now since I'm not actually teaching right now, I'm just going to school, right? I still have that passion of teaching inside of me. So that comes out in our content that we produce, like our podcast and our YouTube channel and things like that. Like now I can deliver it there, but I'm really excited to go back to Air Force Academy, because I really enjoy shaping the young minds, new lieutenants in the Air Force. And so it's really something that's really passionate for me.
Yeah. And even to add, like, he's already like, cause he's, I guess, like social media friends with some of the old cadets that he used to teach with. And like, when they reach out to him saying like, oh, I want to learn more, I want to do this, like right then, it's like all worth it, when they're asking to learn more about real estate, because then they are even questioning, like, is the military what I want to do, or do I want this different life? So like just seeing those minds circulate have been like super phenomenal.
You mentioned ROI. It is return on investment. I have another acronym, ROE, which is return on effort. What does ROI mean to you?
Yeah, so that means return on impact. And what that is that like just to kind of, big level, right? There are almost 8 billion people in this world. And even if half of us did like a 1% positive impact to somebody else each day, like think about how great that ripple would be. So like for us, like in our business plans for our syndication models, like we will only like move forward with LOIs if we can find a place where like impact works. So like beyond your traditional renovation, right? Whether that's adding in-unit washers and dryers, because then the residents get more time back, like making sure that we can have events every month, like making sure that we can pay for like certain amenities where the investor gets a discount. So for example, right, like we just bought a ton of new LED lights for the property. So that only costs us money, but like through the state of Oklahoma, like they are giving so many rebates back because it directly correlates with the residents. So it's like just trying to find ways to go like 1% above and beyond, so looking up those rebates, whatever we have to do, just because like when the residents are in a position where they're like thriving instead of just surviving, like it's amazing, right? But it goes beyond that. Like we can then like positively impact our property management company. We positively impact like the other general partners on our team, all of our investors in the deal, it just like it continues to go, but it's immeasurable, but it makes you feel so good. And when other people are part of it and they're seeing all the goodness that comes from it, like they want to then give out that goodness. And that's just what makes me so excited. Just all the goodness everywhere.
I agree. And everyone needs to write this down. What Suzy's talking about is she's talking about finding impact with others. And it's the same side selling technique. That's, if we can't work together and we can't find impact together, and my product doesn't coincide with what you need, let's at least leave you in a better spot. And that's important. If we all focus on that same type of selling, people want to buy, they don't want to be sold. So can you imagine if you're actually offering something to the residents where they can actually profit. And by the way, your investors profit and you profit. That should be in everybody's business model. That should be the prototypical business model.
Yeah.
And then you coincide that with your core values, which I'm not going to talk about real estate, but it's family core values. We can talk about the family core values. It all really aligns all together. So when you talk about your syndications, you talk about your core values as well to your investors and to your partners and to the residents, because they're not tenants, they're residents, and they're not units, they're apartment homes. So the wording is also very important. It's all sunshine and rainbows. You guys are doing a fantastic job. What challenges have you had out there? Because there are days when you're like, I'm not finding impact right now. The washer and dryers, we can't do them. The residents, the clubhouse is leaking. I mean, what challenges have you had from investing afar and even from implementing your business plans?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say one and then I'll let Michael go. But like, for example, right, with the washers and dryers, there's a huge chip shortage. So guess what was delayed?
Yes.
Our washers and dryers. You know, like
Yes.
that's a great example where it's like, oh, okay, well, we're going to figure this out quick.
Yes.
Mhm.
And most investors, I'm sorry to interrupt real quick, they would say, we're not doing it. It's not going to, it's going to cost so much money. We got to wait. Washer and dryers, they went up in price. But what did you do? We'll figure it out. We're all out there trying to figure it out. So great job.
Yeah. And just another story, like on one of the properties we closed on earlier this year, we knew there was some deferred maintenance on some of the, especially in some of the units. We knew there was some leaky areas and stuff. But one of the residents came to us immediately after we took over the property. I was like, listen, I've had a leak. I've been living here at this property for 15 years. I've had a leak for the last 10 years. The last two owners, I've told them repetitively, like, you have to fix this leak. Both of them threatened to kick me out of this unit if I didn't shut up, and like things like that. Like, quit putting in work orders. This is fine. It's not leaking that bad. Went in there, it was actually, a substantial amount of water damage because of that. And so just being, yes, that's a setback, and that wasn't sunshine rainbows when I got the call from our property management company to say, hey, we have a several $1,000s water leak fix we have to worry about, right? But the positive thing that came out of that was that that resident was so happy and was teared up crying and things like that. I've been trying to get this fixed for 10 years and you guys finally fixed it for me. Thank you so much. I'm really happy. So yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great. We have a common goal, my husband and I, you, the two of you, and I want to know what that is, like the long-term goal. But I also want to know, when you do, one of you gets, falls, gets stuck in the ditch like me and doesn't want to get up. How do you each other help the other person get up and encourage them? Because, we're not all smiling and happy all the time. And, on the podcast, a lot of podcasts that I listen to or we have with other people, everything sounds so easy, and there's so much work behind it, so much effort, especially to help each other and to support each other. So give us an idea of what it's like.
Yeah. So just to kind of talk about Suzy and I's working relationship as far as the business goes, very early on, like the very beginning, we were kind of doing everything. We were both kind of doing everything. Right. And so we started butting heads then, and we were like, okay, we need to take a step back. Okay. What's going on here? Like, let's create swim lanes for each other. Like, I'm going to focus on acquisitions, broker relations, underwriting, things like that. She's going to focus on marketing, investor relations, things that she's good at. And then we can kind of divide and conquer. And then we were not butting heads that much. Right. But another thing that we do, I think that's been a huge thing that's led to our success thus far. Another thing that we do every single morning is we do a version of Miracle Morning for us that we've kind of tailored it for us. But every morning we write down our goals and for the day, we write down things we're grateful for, an inspirational quote or something like that. And then we share that with each other, and so I could be totally down and, I'm like, man, this isn't working. This relationship fell apart, things like that. And she could be the same way. Right. But we have that consistency every single morning. We get up, we write down what we have to do that day, and then we share that with each other. We share what we write in our journal with each other and say, okay, is this aligning with our ultimate goal, right? Is this aligning with your monthly, weekly, quarterly goal, whatever, and make sure that we're vectoring on the right track. And so I think that consistency every single day, sharing with each other where we're at, what we have planned for the day, has been really helpful in making sure that we're picking each other up and making sure that, we're pushing each other to be the best we can.
We also dance. So when one is in a bad mood, it's no. And like when you see the other person being silly, you
Oh, how
automatically
funny.
laugh.
Yes. My husband does that to the kids. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Taking singing lessons. So we'll see how the singing lessons go. So that'll be my new
Oh,
trigger.
nice.
I
That's
cannot
awesome.
wait.
They're opera. They're Italian opera.
I've
Just
got
so you
it.
know.
No
Oh,
diaphragmatic breathing. I got to get the voice
a little
going.
different.
So,
It's
yeah.
very loud when I say loud in our
Yes.
home, I mean like
Yes.
all 8 people in the house are taking Italian opera. So it is
Love it.
a new level.
Do you guys mind if I share a quick story about how Julie and I cope with it as well?
Please do.
I've had a lot of experience in trying to do everything. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And Ima gets burned out. And we came up with a great idea this quarter. And I've transitioned from that. I've grown into that. I've actually trust people now. I know how to hire people. I've got the core values. And we wanted to write a children's book. And I thought I was going to do the whole thing myself. And my wife got interested in it. I said, "Ooh, would you like to help?" And she jumped on board. And she's the accountability partner. Now I'm holding her accountable to that task. I have input. I can give my thoughts, but she's running the show on that. And it's great to be able to do that with your spouse, with your business partner, to say, hey, you know what, you want to help out? Let's hold one of us. One of us is the parent of this. And then we all have children underneath helping out. But ultimately she emails them back. She talks about the script. She talks about
It's more
the
my
art.
speed, you know?
Yes. But like they were saying,
Yeah.
it's really,
Yes.
that cadence of accountability, the way you have your morning rituals. We have our weekly calls. We discuss it over lunch. We make sure we plan stuff, and holding that person accountable to that task. If one of you is raising capital, the other one's going to say, hey, how's the money coming in? And the other one's say, it's coming okay, but you're being held accountable by your partner. And I think that's really important. I think also setting expectations. I expect Julia to pull through this deal, and it's going to get done. If she needs anything from me or anything from the team, she knows she has it. But at the same time, putting a little pressure on her, because pressure makes diamonds. So
yes.
remember
But you
that.
know what, for me, and what really works is to keep it fun, is to lighten up a little bit, because when things get too serious, I just get drained. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. So that's why when I say the kids' book is more my speed, because it's funny, it's a comedy, it's for children, and it's lighter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in general, I think sometimes we take life to, and I don't mean serious in a too bad of a way, but laughter. And just like you said, to dance when your husband is a little down, that's my point. And I love that. That makes me happy.
That's awesome. So what does the future have in hold for you guys? You're going to come back to the States and continue to invest in other markets, continue to syndicate other deals as well?
Yes. So I'm going into real estate full time. So like as a military spouse and moving often, like this actually was perfect, right? Because like the identity shift of a traditional 9-to-5 is pretty devastating, right? Like over here, I found that the like job gap is not a big deal, but everybody knows back in the States it is. And so now it's just like so invigorating to know that like when we move, I don't have to worry about any of that, you know, like, and I no longer have a 9-to-5, like a traditional 9-to-5 tied to who I am, because like who I am at my core is not like program manager for Illumina, you know, like it is so many more great words that don't have anything to do with that. And so like, we are very excited for that. And yeah, we are going to like continue real estate investing. Like we want to be as active as we can now, like, so that when he can retire or decides to, we can then be passive. And like, our huge thing is that like, we want to live wherever we want to live. So if we decide to have children, like we'll do like the world education experience where we can live in different countries. But like a huge thing for us is that like with Michael going back to be a professor, so he loves education. I've been a mentor and a coach, so I love education. We like sat down and thought, how can we continue education outside of a traditional classroom? And for us, it's like, we truly like want to go to these different countries, like live in these communities and build schools or like help them with whatever they need, right? Because education can solve so like basic education solves so many economic issues, and that's huge. And then we get to like still have our passion but just put it into a different like life. And that's like the main thing. Like, how can we continue education, like I said, beyond 4 walls? Like,
yeah, that's beautiful.
And for you, Michael?
Yeah, we're completely aligned on that.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like I think that's what makes us very successful, is like every year we sit down, we have a goal setting retreat, right? And then we unplug from everything for a couple of days and we write down our goals and we chat about them and stuff like that. And then we break it down. Okay, where's our 10-year goals from now? Where's our 3 to 5 year goals? And then what's our 1 year goals? And then we can break those down into quarterly goals. And so, but we are so aligned on the why part, the outcome, like the end goal for me to be able to retire in 7 years and then not have to worry about another W-2 and just going into real estate full time, whether that's being a little bit active, which I kind of want to do. Maybe Suzy wants to be a little bit more passive, but yeah. So, but we're so completely aligned with our why that doing this in like talking about real estate, like you were mentioning earlier, like talking about real estate 24/7, because it's what drives us to our end goal. It's not too much of a burden to like talk about it.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And really, like I said, a lot of the couples that we have in the Jake and Gino community, it is exciting and the goals are there. But sometimes we will lose our identity as a spouse. So that's what I'm talking about, is to always remember to reconnect as a wife, as a husband. Yeah.
Why are you looking
I
at
think
me?
I think we should go I think we should go out on a date. I think it's been a while, because every time I'm on, we talk about this. I remember that we haven't gone out together. So maybe that will be tonight. So thank you.
After singing, I've
Thank
singing
you
lessons.
for reminding me.
So after singing lessons,
Yes,
maybe.
that
So,
definitely.
yes. Yeah. Where can listeners get a hold of you guys?
So the best way to find us is to just go to adventurousrei.com/info. And there you can read more about Return on Impact. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. You can email us, and you can find our YouTube channel and our podcast on there, all on the landing page.
Any final words for the listeners?
I mean, for me, it would just be like, you are born to make an impact. So just like sit down, reflect, and just figure out what that is. Because once you do, like you're driven day in and day out so much differently.
Totally agree.
Love that.
I love that. Michael and Suzy, you the two of you are so super fun. You have so much energy and I love it. I love it. So keep that up. Don't ever lose that.
I want to thank you guys for being on, for sharing your story. And for me, being an inspiration and showing how business and family really are very similar, aren't they? You have your core values, you're really aligned, you're having your cadence of accountability, you're having meetings, you're discussing, it's the communication aspect of it, being on the same page, having the same goals. It's really important, whether you're running a family or you're running a business. So congratulations to you guys, and get back here quickly. All right.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. This is so
Thanks,
much fun.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.